Here's what I'm going to say to that, is I don't think that it's a type of family, honest. I think families who implement recovery like it is taught at PAL or Al-Anon or go to counseling, families that learn for themselves to get better, the parents get better. And oftentimes, when the parents get better, it creates opportunities for the addict to get better. But I can't say parents who go to church more or parents who have more boundaries, their kids do better all the time. I don't honestly have an answer for that. I think parents that get into recovery, they end up changing their behaviors, and it makes it harder for the addict to use them to stay sick, because they're not keeping them from hitting bottoms and dealing with consequences of their choices. I'm not for, just back to the video, that they need excessive amounts of punishment. Simple consequences for your own choices. And there's plenty of them built into society, and if parents allow a kid to experience those, we see a lot of them get better. And the younger that takes place, the better. I do think that is, and that doesn't mean there's no hope. If the addict's 60, there's always hope. But if that takes place at 19, when you're still really pliable, it's easier than at 30, which is easier than at 40, I believe. And I've seen parents that are stuck in that loop and have their adult 50-year-old child living at home, and those are some of the ones I've seen have the hardest time coming out of it, because like an addiction with the addict, they're the most entrenched in it. And it's...
That was really good information too. Thank you for that. Well, do their brains, their frontal cortex actually grow, at least at some point? Since my son started early when he was younger, and is that exact person, does that ever?
I don't know the brain science behind that. Dr. Davis might know that.
Yeah, what was that?
My son started when he was a teenager, and because I agree with that, if the frontal cortex isn't fully grown, does it ever, since he's used it for so long, alcohol?
Yeah, the biggest concern about that is around cannabis products, preventing growth, neurological growth. But as far as other substances, there's no evidence that they prevent growth, the substance itself. And
So it'll turn back on at some point. If it's like I said, if they stay sober for a period of time, one of the concepts that gets used in recovery a ton is also if this is kind of dead and not working when you're first getting sober, having somebody else act as your cortex. And you could apply that to parents or kids. Having your AA group or your PAL group act as your cortex. If you ask them, hey, do you think it's a good idea for me to go relapse right now because I want to get high? Everybody can talk you out of it then. Because if you don't have that ability to do it, so you could go to a PAL meeting and go, well, my kid just had a hard time. He's been out on his own for a year, and should I let him back in the house? Every time I've done it before, it has been a disaster. First of all, once you say it out loud, you're probably going to hear how it sounds. But second of all, the other parents in the PAL meeting are probably go, you may want to rethink that. So they can even act as that for you a little bit if you're in a behavior loop. More questions? Yeah?
Well, we've had many parents, kids, loved ones be out on the street. And once they've exhausted the resources of their friends and anybody else, there are areas out there that can take care of them, give them a meal, maybe a bed. There are things that the communities, Tucson, Seattle, places like that, are becoming more aware of this type of homeless person as the addict, and they're beginning to open up more, I guess you'd say, sanctuaries where they could go to if they're out on the street. Even some places they provide medical care if they injure themselves by doing something. So, the fear of letting them out on the street, yeah, I mean, that just to the core, you think that they're going to die.
Well, in the Arizona heat was actually one of my primary issues. Anybody, and we've seen him out on the freeway.
Yeah.
He's been that guy too.
Yeah.
And my husband actually drove by. He hardly even recognized him. You're not yourself because of the heat. And I could see him having heat exhaustion or passing out from it because he's so under the influence, he didn't realize he could get hurt himself just from the heat alone. And he's aware of those kind of places, and our family even helped at those kind of places because we appreciate other people helping, you know. And he'll get to those, but the Arizona heat's a whole different ballgame, you know. It's
But when you say sometimes, you know, they need to hit their bottom, what we think our bottom would be is way above what their bottom is. I mean, people that have overdosed come back, and then they overdose again. And the one problem is that because of the one drug that they're able to give them,
Naloxone.
they say, well, all I need to do is get a shot, you know, like that. I mean,
Well, that becomes that again, back to that hostage situation, because oftentimes there is a lifeline in the water, but the addict doesn't like the lifeline. So they have incredible tolerance for pain, because it's very rare that one of our families has their kids out on the street, that there isn't anywhere for them to go. There's usually treatment, somewhere you can go, we'll help you get into a house, but the kid doesn't like it. It's, no, I want back in your house and you cooking me dinner, or I'll stand out here in the sun and rot. That's the reality of the situation for a lot of them, is it's a hostage situation. Oh, you could go over to the Salvation Army. I'm not doing that. I want back in my mom's house, and I will stand here and bake until she lets me do it. It's like I'm going to hold my breath until I get my way.
Okay, I have a situation. I have a 24-year-old son. He just got out of prison a month ago, and his parole is until February, so I gave him until February to stay at our house. And he had a relapse, so I talked to him about it, and I gave him a week. So this weekend was a week, and everything seemed okay. Should I keep reminding him that he has to leave in February, or?
I am not a believer in that. I am a believer in a well-communicated and thought-out boundary that you stick to. And setting that's one of those things that a lot of times, because they are always negotiating, addicts are smart and they're negotiators, and they don't play by any of the normal rules of engagement in relationships at all. So I think it's better to have a loving and just stick to it. I told you February 1st. You don't ever have to bring it up again between now and February 1st. But that day, follow through. If you don't, what is the behavior and the message that you're sending? Is what I say isn't real. I don't listen to what I say. And how many of you in here have done it? I've done it with my kids, right? Because they go, hey, this is going to be the deal. And then it's not the deal. And I think it sets a really tough precedent. So trying to change that as a parent is really important. And I think not nagging them about it. Because again, it's this, I'm afraid, so I'm reminding you because I want you to do it, rather than moving past your own fear and going, I'm following through.
It's like the fear, and I want to act out of my fear and out of my...
Yes, yeah, yep. And addicts bring that out in people, that desire for them to choke them, right? I mean, they can just bring the desire to be slapped out of just about anybody, right? And their behavior when they're in that spot is just, truthfully, it is self-serving only. And that rubs people the wrong way. And I'd say that I have 1 minute. We're ending at 11:30? Okay. Okay, so they rub people the wrong way, and we wonder why they have the stigma that they do in society. And again, I think we need to change some things about it, but a lot of it is deserved. If you looked at my behavior while I was using, it was terrible. Again, now we can understand addiction and all those things, but they do rotten stuff to their families. It's just the truth. And the family, it's going to have to go, we don't want to deal with the rotten stuff anymore. Not in our home. We love you, but I'm not going to have you come kick over all the vases every time I don't give you $20. That's me living as a hostage in my own home. Okay? All right. Thank you.